How's it going, people? Welcome back to Casual Gamer Reviews. Today's game is Death Stranding Director's Cut, developed by Kojima Productions. This experience was really like no other. It's gonna be a fun one to break down. If you want to see more of this content, please show some love by leaving a like and subscribe, as it really helps the channel. It took me approximately 35 hours to complete this game, but you could easily spend 100 hours more than this if you wanted. Reviewed on Xbox Series X. There are endless gameplay mechanics introduced in this game. It was one of those where you would still get new things and tutorials popping up around 10 hours in. I can understand why this would turn some people away, as it can be overwhelming, but really you don't have to engage with it all to still experience the quality this game holds. At the very surface level, Death Stranding is a courier game. You are effectively a glorified delivery man. Your name? Sam Porter Bridges. You have your cargo for each mission and you must deliver it from point A to point B. You can really get into the weeds with organizing your cargo across your body, whether it be on your back, your shoulders, your hips, hanging off your tool rack or on your boot hook. You get graded on the condition of the cargo upon the delivery, and so you must ensure that you don't fall, slip, get attacked or lose your items en route. While this may sound boring on paper, I can assure you it absolutely isn't. I couldn't believe how much I loved meticulously placing one foot in front of the other to make sure I would get to my destination safely. I also enjoyed sorting my cargo manually at the beginning, but I got bored of that around 15 hours in and just clicked the auto arrange button, which I must add is great that they included at all. You get access to vehicles later on, and especially on really long journeys this would be the preference, but more often than not the terrain is too treacherous to do the full route, so you will be on foot more often than not. At the start, the game pushes you in the direction of planning your routes. To do this, you open the map and draw lines between points for the route you will take, as if you rotate the map you can see where there are steeper areas and rivers, etc. Whilst I spent a lot of time doing this in the early stages, I stopped doing it altogether, as I soon found that it was much easier to put a single marker on the map for your destination and eyeball the best route as you went on your way. It was also much more enjoyable this way, as I would experiment trying to walk on or around different environments, and I felt like this allowed me to tread the least common path more often than not, which led to some truly picturesque moments that I will always remember. You have a scanner called the Odra Deck. A quick ping with the scanner will show the world around you and identify any lost items you can pick up, but the most useful thing it does is scan the terrain around you to show the level of ease to pass through. Red will indicate difficult terrain and yellow will indicate tricky terrain. I use this a lot, but mostly with rivers, as it was always difficult to tell the depth just off a glance. The gameplay loop very much will resemble a walking simulator in all but name. You will be walking a lot. At each terminal Sam comes across, you will have the option of a SAM delivery or a standard delivery. The SAM deliveries are often, but not always, tied to main quests, and the standard deliveries are just to get extra points and maybe a few good items or resources. I did endeavor to do a few extra deliveries here and there, as I found a lot of the walks to be very therapeutic. Later on, you also unlock the ability to use an auto delivery bot, which can help you take care of some of the standard orders. There is a whole rank and level system as you become a more experienced porter, but I found it affected me very minimally. Occasionally there would be a pop-up saying this level improved your stamina or that you had less chance of losing your balance, but I never really noticed any changes. I can only assume it's to show off to other players through the constant online features this game runs. A big part of Death Stranding is the timefall. Not only does it have serious story implications, but it also had a very strong hold on all the gameplay mechanics. I experienced timefall in two types, rain and snow. Both of these can also progress into more serious storms. In essence, what timefall does is it ages anything it touches. Therefore, Sam must always cover himself in the timefall as to not age, but also it ages and degrades the containers of the cargo you are carrying. Spend too long in the timefall and your containers will degrade, fully exposing your cargo to take damage. Timefall affects many other things in the game, and I will explain them as I reach those particular topics. You gain access to many tools on your journey, and you will continue to unlock new ones as the story goes on and you complete deliveries. These tools can be used for traversal, combat, survival, and various other things. Firstly, for traversal, you can get things like a ladder or a pole anchor, which can help you scale and or descend rocks in steep mountainous regions, or maybe you use your ladder to cross a river or crevice between two cliff faces. Other traversal items include a cargo trolley, which can be tied to your waist to carry particularly heavy loads to save you struggling. It It can also be ridden as a skateboard-esque mode of transport, which is fun and quirky but ultimately not very useful. In a similar vein, you also get a selection of power skeletons. These are mechanical units attached to Sam's legs to help carry heavier loads, but they came in different types. I had 3 different types when I finished the game: power, speed, and all-terrain. Power allowed for heavier loads than the other 2. Speed was what it says on the tin, with faster walk and run speeds. All-terrain was the best though, as it gave benefits in steep areas as well as snowy areas where you do spend a large chunk of the game. On the survival side, you must make sure you have spare boots as well as blood bags. Very importantly, you must also rest as often as possible in the private rooms. You have a health bar for your boots, and if you wear through them, Sam will start injuring his feet and taking damage, so having a spare pair of boots or wraps is always a must. Blood bags heal your health, and rest is essential, as the more tired Sam gets, the lower the stamina meter and the easier it is to lose balance and fall over, damaging your cargo. In these private rooms, you can also take a shower or go to the toilet, both of which use your natural wastes to make grenades, which you can use as weapons. The private room also gives you access to backpack and suit customization, monitoring your available weapons, and checking on BB. BB is a big topic, so I will touch on that a little bit later. The fast travel is also housed in these locations, but I didn't use it often as it leaves all your items behind. I found it mostly useful in later game story beats. Lastly, for tools is the container spray. This spray restores the durability of your containers when they have been exposed to timefall. I suppose I can put this in the survival section, as if your cargo gets too damaged, you will fail a lot of main story missions and will need to restart at a checkpoint. I always made sure I had one of these on my person. Combat in Death Stranding is classic third-person shooter action, except most of the time you've got parcels strapped on your back and limbs. If you have a heavy load, there is no question it would be more beneficial to flee than to stand and fight. If you have a lighter load and want to fight, you can do so. Weapons come in the form of guns and grenades, but there is also your rope, which is used for stealthy kills. The 2 main enemy types are mules and BTs. Mules are humans who are effectively scavengers. They will identify you as having loot and swarm in to attack you once discovered. Killing people in this game is an absolute no-go, as it causes a void out. In this game's world, there is an open bridge between the living and the dead caused by the Death Stranding, and so when one dies, they go necro and cause a void out, which in short is a massive explosion. Therefore, when fighting mules, you must use weapons that are non-lethal. You can get non-lethal assault rifles, which is this game accommodating to the players as it just feels like a regular gun, or you could get cooler non-lethal weapons like the bowler gun, which is an electric lasso that shoots out and binds the mule, trapping them on the ground. Then there is also the stealth option, in which you will use your rope, or strand, to take down enemies. The strand is literally woven with Sam's blood. It's rad. The other and significantly more interesting enemy you encounter in Death Stranding are the BTs. Before I can discuss BTs though, I must explain about the bridge babies, or BBs for short. Yep, this game sure has a lot going on, and I don't blame you for feeling confused. BBs are the iconic baby in a vessel that are carried on the chest that I'm sure all who have any idea of the existence of this game will have surely seen. BBs have a connection to the dead world and are used as tools by the humans. You connect into them via their umbilical cord. Yeah, you heard me right, the umbilical cord. It connects up to your sensor and indicates through a series of pulses your proximity to BTs as, well, they're invisible. Bridge babies do not age, and in fact, I don't think they last very long either, but that's more lore than gameplay. The BTs themselves appear in periods of timefall. The most common variant are, as I said, invisible, and it is best to sneak around these using your sensor tied to BB. Later on in the game, you get a special weapon that actually allows you to cut the cord, which severs the connection between the BT and the living and dead worlds, ripping them from existence. Kojima sure put a lot of umbilical cords in this game, huh? The other variant of BTs appear either through main story boss fights, or if your stealth gets broken and you get caught by BTs. They are a single, much larger foe that is visible. These take the token of spectacle fights, and you must utilize different weapons and ammo here to the ones you use against the mules. Anti-BT weapons use bullets made of Sam's blood. As gnarly as that is, it introduces an interesting trade-off. Your blood levels are your health in this game, so obviously the more you shoot at a BT, the lower your health will get. I I did run out of blood bags every now and then, although you sometimes get them thrown to you through the game's online system, but even so it is often better to just run away unless of course it is a main story boss fight. Speaking of blood levels, there are several statuses you must keep an eye on. As just mentioned, there is the blood levels which give you anemia if they get too low, but also stamina, blood sugar, tiredness, weight, and of course BB has a meter too which you want to keep within reason or he will have a tantrum. Death Stranding incorporates a lot of online features within its game world, and that is most prevalent in the building. You can make certain structures in this game, from a bridge to a generator to a whole highway. I did not engage with this much as I'm never really a builder, but it certainly made the game much more interesting being able to interact with other people's structures, not to mention helpful. The amount of times I got to use a well-placed bridge was countless. These structures do of course work with the mechanics of the world itself, so in areas of timefall any structures you have built will degrade and erode away, which was impressive to me. To build structures you need resources, and you gain access to more resources by either building your link with that particular station or by recycling your unused items. Your link is increased by completing deliveries, and the recycling is available at any station. There is safeguards in place for this getting too easy, and you can't actually see anyone else's structures in the area until you have completed the main mission and connected them to the network. When I mentioned right at the start that you could spend 100 more hours in this game, this is what I meant. You can really get into the building system, and I've seen threads of people showing how they build a whole delivery network of zip lines, or how they build every road surface making a highway that spans the whole map. If everything I have said so far sounds overwhelming, don't worry because it actually isn't as complicated as it sounds. The tutorials and the way the start of the game plays out actually does a good job at explaining the most crucial parts. There are of course more hands-on stuff like the building system, but you can just completely ignore that as it is not required to complete the game. I will say probably the most annoying thing for me on the gameplay side was the sheer number of enemy encounters. When you have to sneak through your third set of BTs or sprint through your second set of mules whilst just trying to complete a single delivery, it can feel really tedious, especially when this game, for what it is, should have less combat considering you are just a delivery guy. Plus, carrying weapons just takes up precious cargo space. Further to this, the enemy variety is very small, which just adds to the tedium of the encounters. Visually, Death Stranding is a cinematic gaming experience, masterfully combining the beautiful aesthetics and the rich story. The environments look very good, and to be honest, they have to be, as you will spend the majority of your experience walking or driving through them. I thought the lighting was exceptional, and for a game that spends a lot of its time being dull and grey, when that sun pops up, it is quite the sight. The game is very stylish, and this is best displayed in all its quirks. Take Fragile for example. She is a character you meet right at the start, and she is zipped in full leather carrying the most impractically shaped umbrella you have ever seen. But it looks so cool. Deadman wears a skull mask the whole time, Cliff can magic a cigarette into his hands, and the villain Higgs wears a gold mask, eyeliner, and a baggy hood. Then there's Mama who has... well, maybe you should listen to the spoiler cast for that one. Every single character just looked so good. Also, it's worth mentioning that when you are first introduced to the character, you get a nice credit pop-up that displays both the character name and the actor that portrays them, which I appreciated and would like to see more games do. Then, there is the set dressing and the gadgets. I have already spoken about BBs, which are literal fetuses taken straight from the womb and strapped to the chest via an umbilical cord. Then there is your cufflink, which is both your communication and navigating device, which is just a pair of fancy handcuffs. The structures that you can build have this clinical futuristic vibe, which I liked. Sam would often break the fourth wall when in the private room by staring directly down the camera, which was a feature I've not seen before. All of these quirky and bizarre things just gave such a unique identity, and I loved all of it. We have seen more and more these days that ported games struggle at their inception, and with Death Stranding obviously being a PlayStation game, then ported to PC and now Xbox, that was a concern. But I am happy to report that I saw no noticeable frame drops or bugs running on the Series X. What would be the best accompaniment for a long walk? Music. And that is something Death Stranding has in spades. It has a fantastic soundtrack soundtrack, a lot of which was performed by Low Raw. The music would always show up at the perfect time when you're just passing through the most amazing scenery. It was used impactfully in the story too, and definitely helped with the gravitas of some situations. Even if you don't like this game, you should check out the soundtrack as it's very good. The voice acting is all quality, as there are a lot of top actors employed here. You have Norman Reedus, Lea Seydoux, Mads Mikkelsen, Troy Baker, Margaret Qualley, Tommy Earl Jenkins, Jesse Courtey, and Emily O'Brien. So really just star-studded from top to bottom. I should also mention, just as a small aside, that I really appreciated the small sounds of things clanging against your suit and the general friction noises of your suit rubbing against itself as you run. This is the attention to detail I really liked in Metal Gear Solid 5, and I was happy to see it return here. The story was my favorite part about this game, but it is almost impossible for me to talk about without mentioning spoilers, so I will be doing a spoiler cast. Please keep an eye out for that if you are interested. At its bones, Sam Porter Bridges is a porter, which is a job title for those who deliver items from one camp to another. Simply because since the world was struck with a Death Stranding, it is too dangerous for any old Tom, Dick or Harry to traverse naturally. You are tasked with traveling the country, reconnecting people to the network and therefore each other to become a unified America. It is a world filled with deep lore and supernatural beings, so expect a lot of twists and turns. Your main antagonist is the guy called Higgs, who the others simply call a terrorist, as he is trying to disrupt this recovery, as he presumably wants a world of chaos, although you never really know his true motivations to start off with. I would not be doing my job with this review if I did not mention the length of the cutscenes. This game can feel like a movie at times, and especially towards the end, the cutscenes can get up to 20 or 30 minutes long. Even someone like me, who is really enveloped by the story, found that a little over the top. If you're someone who likes a video-ass video game with action, you probably won't like this. There is also a later chapter that serves to tell story, and although you have control of the character, there is literally nothing to do but walk up and down, and it was very badly paced. I hope to see stuff like that cleaned up a bit in the second game and more cohesively tied in. The side content in this game is the online building systems I mentioned earlier. You can really get into the deep end with building structures and making some really incredible networks. Once you complete the story, you get plunged into an eternal endgame in which you can build to your heart's content or just complete some more deliveries. Death Stranding is a weird and wonderful piece of art that I must praise Hideo Kojima and the team for. The quirky and stylized visuals match perfectly with the story, and everything came together to give me a truly memorable experience. I can't wait to see how Sam's story progresses in the second game, and that is owed to this title. While on paper, a game that almost in its entirety is a man delivering packages across a country set in a dystopian future with supernatural enemies and having a fetus companion who is linked to you through an umbilical cord may sound boring. Who am I kidding? It sounds fucking awesome. I do have to mark it down for some egregious cutscenes, even for my narrative-driven brain, and also the tedium at times, especially with enemy encounters. Death Stranding Director's Cut gets a casual gamer score of 8 out of 10. Let me know in the comments below what you thought of this game, and if you are looking forward to the second one. Don't forget to keep your eyes peeled for the spoiler cast I will be releasing in the coming weeks. If you enjoy this content, please leave a like and subscribe, and for everything casual gamer, keep it here. Peace and love.